I have some sympathy for the actual wording of the motion, but what I've heard in some of the comments, I mean, this is supposed to be something that funds the current day-to-day expenditure. I don't think there's ever a suggestion that the tax we're collecting on an annual basis is designed to fund the capital programme, and the manager might clarify that. So social housing maintenance might be part of this programme, but social housing construction I don't think is ever supposed to be coming out of the household charge. Now, in terms of, I think we do need to look at the issues of ability to pay, because people may live and have assets that are of some value, or used to be of some value, maybe of a lot less value now, but they may not necessarily have the cash resources to do so. And whether there's a way of offsetting the charge, deferring the charge against the estate or something in the longer term. Equally, people paid huge money in stamp duty. People paid 30 and 40,000 euro in stamp duty in the recent past, in 2005, 6, 7 and 8. And I think particularly those years, those who were in the largest amount of negative equity in a lot of cases, being asked to pay again on top of the huge taxes they've contributed in relation to their property in the very recent past, has to be taken into account. I think the issue I have, another issue, is that the government has been selling this as funding our local services, but really all it's doing is replacing and taking away the motor tax local government fund from local services. This council will not be a penny better off at the end of the year, even if all 160 million was collected. And in fact, it will probably be worse off because the 160 million isn't collected or hasn't been collected so far. So can we stop saying that the household charge is it's only going to shore up a part of the deficit. It's not going to make local authorities better off, and I think the government should stop saying that. Councillor Boyne is absolutely right when he talks about the fact that homeowners have to pay it and tenants don't. Presumably tenants, whether they be in private accommodation or council tenants, get to benefit from libraries and swimming pools and footpaths and public lighting and pitches and parks, just like everybody else. And I think if we are going to ask people to pay for local services, we should ask everybody to pay based on their ability to pay. But sometimes you find people who are tenants living quite comfortable lifestyles, new cars, they don't have to worry about mortgages or negative equity, and at the same time the person next door could be very strapped for cash and is being asked to pay it. Councillor Halpin referred to the rich. There are 300 people. I think she mentioned the top 300. If it's 300 people, fine, let's go and get some money off these 300 people. But there's an awful lot of people who might have been perceived as being rich or who have been comfortable, who are a lot less comfortable now than they were, and may in a lot of situations have some assets but have greater levels of debt. And I'm not sure that there's as much of a pot of gold out there. Maybe there isn't this 300, but I don't know if we can actually fill it from that. And lastly, Cllr, look, efficiencies within this local authority. I think we always have to be striving for efficiencies to make the cost of running this authority as efficient as possible, and I think we have seen that, but I think there's a way to go on that, and I think the more efficiencies we can get and the better value we can get out of both our staff and our contractors, the further our money will go. Thank you.
Councillor Patrick.
Thank you. The Labour Party is not opposed in principle to taxing high-income earners, and certainly during the last budget, changes to the domicile levy meant that the Irish citizenship condition has been removed. Now, people before profit and their colleagues in the Socialist Party, Joe Higgins, etc., they have advocated that a wealth tax should be introduced. Indeed, Richard Boyd Barrett stated that a wealth tax would yield 10 billion. However, that is really plucking a figure out of the sky, because there are no figures have been forthcoming from the Central Statistics Office or the Revenue Commissioners to back up that claim that 10 billion could be accrued from a wealth tax. Indeed, Joe Higgins has started saying recently that 5 billion could be brought in from a wealth tax, and that's quite a variation on Deputy Boyd Barrett's assertion that 10 billion could be brought in. So I think they need to get their figures straight on this one. It's not, as I say again, it's not based on any Central Statistics Office figures. It's not based on any figures from the Revenue Commissioners. So I think they are very much have their head in the clouds, people before profit, on this issue. In relation to some other comments made by people before profit over there, this household charge, yes, it is not equitable, but it will be replaced by a property tax that will be fair, and that money will go to local authority services. And certainly, I'm very interested to look at the budget the next budget for this council in 2013, because if we have to look at a cutback, people for profit will very much have to look at themselves as the cause of that cutback, because certainly if residents who they campaigned for residents in this county not to pay the household charge, which means there's less money going to central government, which therefore means there will be less money going to this local authority. So they'll just have to look at themselves in the mirror if we are going to have cutbacks in 2013. We are going to have less money because people are not paying the property tax. Therefore, services will be cut. Therefore, it's your fault. Thank you.
Manager.
Just to reiterate the point made by Councillor Fitzpatrick that the household charge is to be replaced by a property tax next year. The household charge is an interim measure for 2012. I also just want to remind councillors that we did bring a report to last month's council meeting advising councillors that an expert group had been established and that any interested parties could make submissions before, I think it was the 16th of March. Just to clarify the issue in relation to the tenant purchase property owners, yes, they are liable. The legislation states that it's the owner of the property that's liable, and as their properties are vested in the tenant purchasers, they are liable on that basis. Whether or not that's something that will be addressed in any new legislation that will come forward, we don't know. But that is the situation, that it is the owner that's liable. Councillor Horkin, just to clarify, yes, that the position is correct. The household charge is a revenue income stream. It is not to fund any capital expenditure. And also it is a replacement for an element of what was the local government fund. So it is not a new income stream for local authorities. So I think that's... No.
Councillor Lewis.